So season 10 of Doctor Who was a big one. The previous season was a bit of a letdown, which would usually mean that the following season didn't have much in terms to step up to, but in this case it was an anniversary season, so in some ways the stakes were higher than usual. The format was the same as the previous season, but gave us the first multiple Doctor story, which is something which really changed the show, while also setting the precedent for anniversary years going forwards. So let's get into the serials and see how good this season actually was. The season began strong with the Three Doctors, a big serial which gave us all three Doctors working together against a common foe. While the villain did lack a bit, plus the obvious hurdle of how Hartnell could be used in the serial are present, having Troughton and Pertwee interacting is pure gold and really elevates the serial. It's a simple story but incredibly fun, and created a formula which the show would use several times in the following decades. It also ended the Doctor's exile, which would allow both the Doctor and the show to begin regaining the freedom they had before this era began. Carnival of Monsters took the Doctor off of Earth under his own power and stuck him in a very different story. While there is some commentary in this serial, it's not the main focus. It instead gives us fun and over-the-top characters and some very interesting ideas which create a very entertaining serial. Frontier in Space was a bit of a mixed bag. It has many problems when it comes to its pacing, with the Doctor and Jo being captured far too often. It did bring the Master back for what would be Delgado's final appearance, and while he had become overused in the previous seasons, here he feels like a welcome addition to a serial where he fits perfectly. Planet of the Daleks saw Terry Nation return to write for the Daleks again, and it was basically just the best bits compilation. There wasn't really anything new within the story, but it was fun enough in the moment, although it does suffer from production problems, with some not very convincing sets. The series ended with The Green Death, a classic. It was a serial with an important message and strong morals which come through effortlessly, without it being beaten into the script. It also saw the end of Jo's time with the Doctor, and her departure is perfectly handled, with her going to start her own life, which will be just as adventurous. So, ranked worst to best, in last place is Planet of the Daleks, there's Frontier in Space, Carnival of Monsters, The Three Doctors, and in top spot is The Green Death. Could just be me, but I found with the exception of the finale that each serial wasn't quite as good as the previous one, although the power of the multiple Doctor story is probably keeping its simplicity from being beaten by Carnival. The season saw a bit of a decrease in the wider cast, as Unit were very much on the back foot, and the Master only appeared in a single story. Beginning with the Master, he feels stronger here than he has in a while. Due to his overuse, I was becoming annoyed at his presence, but here he works perfectly well, as the serial they put him in was a perfect fit. The obvious downside is that this would end up being Delgado's final serial, and it really doesn't feel like that at all. It's unfortunate how things ended up playing out. On the Unit characters, the Brigadier is the same as always. He has fully entered his skeptic era of the show, with him tending to doubt the alien presence, or whatever he sees as it doesn't fit within his view of the world. This has hurt his character a bit, as he does end up doubting the Doctor quite a lot until things can't be doubted, although do give us some funny moments, such as the Chroma bit. Although Green Death does reverse this by having him seemingly doubting the Doctor, but secretly working against the villain by sending in a secret agent. Benton is the same as ever too, with his mix of comedy and more professional side being well used. Each of the serials has him being used in entirely different ways, with the comedy being pushed far more in The Three Doctors, while he felt more serious in The Green Death. It's kind of strange at times seeing him in Green Death because he feels more akin to season 6 Benton instead of the more humorous man we've been seeing of late. But he's always a welcome presence in the serial, with his time in The Three Doctors nearly not happening. Finally, we have Yates, who is barely in the season. He wasn't in The Three Doctors due to scheduling issues, and was only in about half of Green Death, but I think he is used well during that brief time, as we get to see him as an undercover agent. This is something we haven't really seen him do before, but fits him well, as I said in my review. He feels more natural in this position than as a captain. This serial also gives him a lot to do despite his short time, as we have him brainwashed and once freed having to sneak back in, alongside some light fighting, plus the comedy scenes also work well. Overall, it's a great showing for him, and after so long of him being nothing or feeling out of character, it's great to see the Yates we were first introduced to back again. Now for the Doctor, who I feel like I'm kind of out of things to say about. After so many seasons, it's hard to keep thinking up new things to say, especially since he's been so explored. But this season does give us a few new things, notably his newfound freedom. While it's only the beginning of this, with his exile over, his relationship with the Time Lords has changed, as he now has the same freedom he had before, but he's willing to communicate with the Time Lords as made clear in Planet of the Daleks. This is a clear contrast with Dalek's master plan, a serial where he needed to get back to Kemble to fight the Daleks, but took the risk of using parts from the Monk's TARDIS instead. This freedom also allows for his travelling spirit to return. He's no longer only doing missions off of Earth for the Time Lords, instead he's doing his own thing and finding trouble again. We are seeing a change in him because of this. He seems somewhat casual towards threats on Earth, as he was just fine with leaving the trouble on Earth in Green Death, just to go on a trip to a planet he's been to before, notably not even taking Jo with him, who he was planning to take the entire time. There is a lot of potential to see where this goes in the future, but we're only seeing the beginning of a change. Finally, we have Jo, who after 3 seasons took a leave from Unit and the Doctor. This was a strong season for her to go out on, as although Planet of the Daleks did nothing with her, the remaining serials did quite well. While there wasn't much for her in Three Doctors, the rest of the season gave her plenty to do, with her greatest moment probably being her standing up to the Master in Frontier. But even in Carnival, the section where she's without the Doctor is well done, and of course she shines in Green Death, even if she is a bit more childish than she has been of late. There's a good sense of her development, with her being a lot more confident, and her departure from the Doctor shows this, as she leaves to continue adventuring but instead on Earth. The reveal that she used used her connections at the United Nations to get into UNIT, which led to her meeting the Doctor, is a great scene, as it explains why someone so out of place would be in UNIT. But now she's become someone fitting of UNIT, which does give her an arc which has been completed, something we haven't really seen from any companion, even if it was probably more by accident than design. So season 10 was quite a strong one. It wasn't perfect with the quality varying and dropping as it went along, but even its worst serial isn't complete trash. There are plenty of great serials within it, with it both opening and ending with classics. It saw the Doctor meet himself and finally end his exile, which would allow the show to change, before eventually having to say goodbye to one of his closest friends, in one of the best departures of the show. It's definitely stronger than the previous season, and it feels refreshing. I don't think it's a favourite season of mine, but it's got some great stories and fixes the problems of the previous season with all of its characters.